Mina Murray is writing to her very best friend, Lucy Westenra. She's so sorry her letter is late, but being an assistant schoolmistress keeps her super busy. Mina just longs to be by the sparkling sea with Lucy and is working incredibly hard, learning shorthand and typing, all to help Jonathan Harker when they're married. She even got a quick letter from Jonathan. He's doing great and will be back from far-off Transylvania in just about a week. And guess what? Mina has heard some exciting whispers about Lucy and a rather dashing curly-haired gentleman. Lucy Westenra writes to Mina Murray, playfully denying she's a bad correspondent. She describes her pleasant social life in town and confirms that the curly-haired man is Arthur Holmwood. Lucy loves him so deeply, even though he hasn't explicitly declared his feelings yet. She also introduces Dr. John Seward, a clever and resolute doctor with a large lunatic asylum whom Arthur introduced and who now visits frequently, finding Lucy a curious psychological study. Lucy Westenra continued her letter to Mina Murray, bubbling with news about an absolutely extraordinary day. Imagine, she'd received 3 marriage proposals. First, there was Dr. John Seward, who, though a little nervous, made such a straightforward declaration of his love. Lucy was truly touched by his sincerity, but she simply had to refuse him, and you could just see his heart break. Even amidst her own happiness, Lucy felt such a pang of sorrow watching him leave, looking so utterly dejected. Later that evening, Lucy Westenra excitedly continued her letter to Mina Murray, describing the second marriage proposal she'd received from Quincy P. Morris, an adventurous American. He proposed in such a charming, slang-filled way, but Lucy had to gently refuse him. Quincy was so noble about it, accepting her honesty and offering his heartfelt friendship, sealing it with a kind kiss. Then, Lucy had the most wonderful news. Arthur Holmwood was the third to propose, and she joyfully accepted him, simply overflowing with happiness and gratitude. Dr. John Seward was recording a diary entry into his phonograph, feeling so disappointed. Lucy Westenra had just said no to his proposal, leaving him with a big, empty feeling. But to feel better, he quickly turned his attention to R.M. Renfield, a patient who was just so unique. What a fascinating puzzle for Dr. Seward's mind. He really delved into Renfield's cheerful yet strange way of being and his one big, unchanging idea, wondering about the tiny difference between being truly mad and just having a strong motivation. Quincy P. Morris sends a wonderful letter to his good friend Arthur Holmwood. He's inviting Arthur to a special get-together with their pal, Dr. John Seward, tomorrow night. Quincy suggests they all mingle their weeps over the wine cup and raise a glass to Arthur, who has won the noblest heart in the whole wide world. Lovely Lucy Westenra. He also looks back fondly on all their amazing adventures together from the past, promising Arthur the warmest, most heartfelt welcome imaginable. Arthur Holmwood sent a telegram, bursting with excitement, to Quincy P. Morris, eagerly accepting his invitation. He promised to arrive with news so thrilling it would make both Quincy and Dr. John Seward's ears absolutely tingle. It was a wonderful hint at the joyous news, his engagement to Lucy Westenra. Oh, what a wonderful day! Mina Murray arrives in Whitby, greeted warmly by her friend Lucy Westenra. Mina just loves describing the beautiful town, the sparkling Esk River, the grand Whitby Abbey, and that fascinating old parish churchyard where she plans to spend so much time. And while she's busy writing in her journal, she spots 3 old men talking, and she's already decided she wants to ask one of them something important. Mina found herself chatting with an old sailor, Mr. Swales, who proudly declared he was almost 100 years old. Full of curiosity, she asked him about spooky local legends, like the mysterious bells at sea or the ghostly white lady. But Mr. Swales just brushed them off, calling them fool talk, meant only for tourists. And before Mina could learn anything about exciting whale fishing, poof! Mr. Mr. Swales simply left, heading home for his tea. Mina found herself back home, her mind buzzing with all that had happened that day. Lucy and her dear mother, Mrs. Westenra, were still out and about, busy with their important duty calls. Mina hadn't gone with them this time, but she knew, oh, she just knew, they'd be walking through the door again very, very soon. And just like that, Mina and Lucy are back in the churchyard. They join up with Mr. Swales and his two friends. Mr. Swales, who's quite the bossy sort, immediately launches into a rather grumpy sermon about all the local legends and old tombstones. He just declares them all fool talk and not true at all. But even with all that grumbling, Lucy's sweet nature somehow seems to charm him. Mina bravely challenges Mr. Swales' big claim that all tombstones are just lies. Then, Mr. Swales points to a whole bunch of graves: Edward Spenceley, Braithwaite Lowry, Andrew Woodhouse, John Paxton, and John Rawlings, and declares their bodies aren't even there. And then, oh wow, he tells Lucy to read an inscription for George Cannon, which uncovers a super dark and scandalous secret about the man's suicide and what his mother really felt. Oh no! Lucy felt a sudden pang of upset when Mr. Swales shared his spooky story about the suicide, especially since it happened right at her favorite seat. But Mr. Swales just brushed off her worries and hobbled away. Soon, Mina and Lucy found themselves sitting close, and Lucy whispered a big secret to Mina. She was going to marry Arthur Holmwood, but a little cloud of sadness drifted over Mina because she hadn't heard a single word from Jonathan Harker in a whole month. As evening fell, Mina returned to the quiet churchyard, all alone. Oh, her heart was so heavy and full of worry. Not a single letter had arrived from Jonathan Harker. She watched the town lights twinkle and listened to the distant sounds, but her thoughts were completely consumed by Jonathan, longing for him to be there. Dr. John Seward begins a new diary entry, eager to describe a truly fascinating case. His patient, R.M. Renfield, is growing more and more intriguing. Dr. Seward observes Renfield's sudden, strong qualities of selfishness, secrecy, and a strange new purpose. And here's the peculiar part. Renfield has an odd love for animals, which shows itself as an intense, undeniable obsession with catching flies. Wow! Dr. Seward is writing down something amazing. Renfield has found a brand new hobby, collecting spiders. And get this, he's feeding all his captured flies to them. It's making the fly population shrink, but somehow even more flies are being drawn right into his room. Dr. Seward had to talk to Renfield about the nuisance of his many, many spiders. But then, during their conversation, Renfield did something truly shocking. He actually snatched a blowfly right out of the air and ate it, declaring, "Life, strong life." This strange and unsettling act gave Dr. Seward a brand new, important idea about Renfield's puzzling mind. Dr. Seward's first little idea about Renfield's unusual mind is really starting to blossom. He notices Renfield has a brand new sparrow, and he's actually taming it. How? By feeding it his very last spiders, making their numbers shrink even more. And here's the amazing part. Renfield's notes are super careful, packed with figures, hinting there's a secret method to his wild behavior. Guess what? Renfield now has a whole colony of sparrows, having gotten rid of almost all his flies and spiders. He eagerly asked Dr. Seward for a kitten next, practically fawning like a little puppy. But Dr. Seward saw something truly alarming, a dangerous pattern in Renfield's ever-growing desires. He even noticed a fierce, sidelong look that spoke of killing, confirming his terrible suspicion that Renfield was becoming an undeveloped homicidal maniac. Later that evening, Dr. Seward visited Renfield again and found him looking so thoughtful. Renfield then really begged Dr. Seward for a cat, saying it was super, super important, like his whole future depended on it. But Dr. Seward just couldn't say yes, and Renfield got terribly quiet, gnawing on his fingers, looking so sad. Dr. Seward made an early morning visit to Renfield and found him happily back to catching flies. But then he noticed something strange. No sparrows were in sight, and there was a tiny spot of blood on Renfield's pillow. A chilling thought hit him. The birds must be gone, so he quickly told the attendant to report anything unusual right away. Oh my goodness! An attendant rushed to tell Dr. Seward that Renfield had been terribly sick and had thrown up a whole lot of feathers. The attendant was sure of it, exclaiming, "He's eaten his birds, and he just took and ate them raw." And just like that, it confirmed exactly what Dr. Seward had been suspecting all along. Dr. Seward carefully gave Renfield a powerful sleeping medicine. Then, with a spark of curiosity, he began to pore over Renfield's mysterious notebook. And just like that, a brilliant idea clicked into place. Dr. Seward finally understood, classifying Renfield as a esophagus maniac, someone who strangely wanted to absorb lives, piling them up one by one. Dr. Seward couldn't help but wonder. He saw incredible potential for science to grow just by understanding minds like Renfield's, even imagining his own discoveries standing alongside the great works of Burden Sanderson and Ferrier. Oh my goodness. Mina received a letter from Jonathan Harker, sent along by Mr. Hawkins, but it was so short, and what it said made her feel a little bit uneasy. And guess what else? Lucy Westenra started sleepwalking again. Her mother, Mrs. Westenra, was super anxious about it because Lucy's own father used to do the very same thing. Still, Lucy was just bubbling with excitement, planning her wonderful autumn wedding to Arthur Holmwood, Lord Godalming's son. Oh dear, Mina's worry about Jonathan's silence just kept growing. And Lucy, well, she was still sleepwalking every single night, which meant Mina wasn't getting much rest. But oddly enough, Lucy herself seemed to be getting healthier, with a lovely rosy glow to her cheeks. Then, oh no, Arthur Holmwood's visit had to be postponed because his father, Lord Godalming, was terribly ill. Lucy was just so frustrated about it. Another whole week just zoomed past, and still, no news from Jonathan, not even a peep for Mr. Hawkins. Mina, though, found Jonathan's last letter getting stranger and stranger. Even with his familiar handwriting, it just didn't feel right anymore. And guess what? Lucy wasn't sleepwalking quite as much, but Mina noticed something truly unsettling. Even in her sleep, Lucy had this super watchful, concentrated look. She'd even try the locked door and search for the key. Imagine this. A truly wild and stormy day in Whitby. Mina felt such an awful worry, her heart heavy with Jonathan still gone. The sea was a roaring monster, and fishing boats practically flew, desperate to reach the harbor's safety. And then, old Mr. Swales appeared, walking right up to her, looking like he had something very important to share. Suddenly, Mr. Swales, with a newfound gentleness, shared a secret with Mina. He confessed that all his earlier gloomy talk about death was just a clever way to cheer himself up and bravely face his own future. He truly found a peaceful acceptance, understanding that death was simply a natural part of life's grand journey. Then, after a heartfelt goodbye to Mina, he slowly shuffled away. Mina is still feeling quite bothered by her conversation with Mr. Swales when a Coast Guard approaches her. He excitedly points out a truly strange Russian ship behaving erratically in the rough, wild seas. It seems completely unable to decide its course as the big storm draws nearer. The Coast Guard predicts they will definitely hear more about this mysterious vessel very soon.